Hello everyone watching. How are you doing? It is morning here, but I thought I'd do a little morning stream. I have some tea ready. Today we're going to talk a bit about generating Odin code, which means, Odin doesn't have built lots of meta programming. It has parametric polymorphism, which can do some generic stuff, and then you can also generate code to if you need to do fancy things on top of that. So in my little, I started doing prototyping some kind of game engine stuff just before the vacation, which is sort of I was thinking of something modular with plugins and stuff. And so that looks like, it still doesn't look like anything because I was thinking of trying to do it I was trying to do the editor stuff first, right? So it doesn't, wait a minute. I have a bit of a virus and threat protection problem. Right. I think that should do it. Yeah, there we go. Anyways, so I have this little program here. It's just I'm just trying to do some immediate mode UI. This is direct 3D12. It doesn't look like anything yet. It's just one background here with another background color up here. There's supposed to be a menu bar up here later. It's not so important right now what it does, the program. But what I have here is some kind of plugin system, right? And this plugin system, I use some, so you see this, this is my renderer direct 3D12. And since I want this to be a plugin, it needs some kind of API for the plugin, right? The way the API looks is like this. So we have, this is API renderer direct 3D12. This is not this is just my mock, this is not how the API is going to look in the end. This is just what I needed to get the stuff on the screen. But this is all the person using the API, the sort of plugin needs to see. It's sort of similar, in C you have header files. Odin doesn't have header files, but for something like how to interface with something coming out, if you have a DLL that exposes some kind of interface or API, then you would need some kind of way to something that describes what's in there, and that's sort of what this stuff is. So if you look inside this plugin, all there is in here is a DLL. Never mind these files. There's a DLL and there's this API file. So when you want to load this DLL is loaded by the sort of host program, and then you this API file here contains the description of the API, which can be fetched using a little plugin system I've written. This file is generated, right? This API file. And so let's see. And you see, for example, this, what's a good procedure? Create swap chain, this one. If we go to renderer direct 3D12, create swap chain, we have an API thingy there, and that's not something from Odin. That's something I've added. It's just API is something I wrote, and then I have, when I build my plugins, I have a little program that runs and builds the plugins, which compiles a DLL, but it also makes that API file, right? So it sort of it opens the API file within the that folder, and then it will look for the API attribute like this, and then it will use that to check if it's a procedure, and if it's a procedure it takes just the signature of it, so it doesn't take the body, it just takes this part, right? Sorry, I have to cough. that's why morning blah. So that's why this stuff is here. It's just a signature of these procedures. So they end up in there. That's generated. And then it also, I have some more like shader handle here. Also has the API. And then sometimes you want opaque struct. Like I don't want the API to have to, like the idea here is that this API, it should import as few things as possible. I have this base thing, which is my own sort of the game engine sort of shared things. And that will need, it's fine to use things from base in the API, so you can use like base.vector2 and then stuff like that, but you can't use, well you could, but it's not a very good idea to use lots of things from other packages, so such as direct3d12 here. So that's why I make state into an opaque struct. So from the viewpoint of the API, state is just this empty struct. I only pass it around by pointer like this, right? That's how you can make sort of an opaque struct. This is like a type def, an empty type def or something in, or yeah, something like that in C, but instead you have just an empty struct like this. So that's what it finds API opaque inside this file. You saw that here, API opaque. The nice thing about Odin is that the syntax is simple and quiet enough that you can generate code easily. So it's not a big deal to generate, like I'm essentially just printing out the code like this. And then I compile the DLL down here also. Hello Euclid2, who asks no Jai today. No, I did one Jai stream 2 days ago, but today is back to normal Odin things. But what we're gonna look at today, so this has generated this API struct, right? One thing, well, today we're gonna do a little bit of, we're gonna go to crazy town a bit, I think. One limitation with Odin's package system is that we did the Jai stream, the Jai programming language the other day, right? In Jai you can import things and dump everything into the global namespace, or you can alias it. So in Odin you can't dump things into the global namespace. So you can give things like, you have base here, right? You could write B here and give this namespace an alias, but you can't dump these things into the global namespace. Either you have to do like this and take the types out of it and the procedures and kind of alias them manually. You can, within a procedure, write using base. Like if I have a procedure somewhere, like here, you could write using base, like that. But you can't do that in the global namespace. So for example, if you use, do we have an example here somewhere maybe? Well, we have here in the API, we have this thing here, right? This here, we can't avoid writing it here. We could do this and have like vec2i is base.vec2i, but Odin's package system sort of discourages using lots of small packages with the idea that they are mainly for libraries, but it doesn't have any other way to split things up into sort of, in this case I want plugins, and it's supposed to be pretty modular. And in that sense there is sort of this conflict with Odin's package system and what I'm doing here, because it's I am making not super small, but it would be a lot more packages than some people would use maybe. and from a plugin based design like this, you're sort of forced into that. So with that in mind, Odin's package system does add a bit of friction. This is, I quite often think that Odin's package system is quite, it fits fairly well with many things, and the way it discourages you to make many small packages is often a good thing. But in this specific case, where you want plugin based architecture, it throws some wrenches into your machinery. However, there are two things with Odin's package system, right? One thing is that you can't have circular imports. That's a good thing. But with this kind of setup, this plugin setup, where you have this is the API, this is all the person using I can show you this is my main file where I load where do I load well, I have a little test API here. I said base get API, and then we have the library thing here, thingy it's called, that it gets that API. That's just a test library I have. So all that one does, it has an API where it says hey, hi, and it says wow, and then it prints some stuff. So this implementation here, I can show you this is the API. This doesn't import anything other than base and this handle map thing, but never mind that. However, the implementation, which is over here, does import D3D12. Hello Thunder, who asks if I got inspired by the Jai meta programming the other day. I didn't actually do really any meta programming in Jai. I don't like meta programming that much, which is weird because that's the name of the stream. But this is more like I will generate some code, but that will output obvious like new code, but it's not gonna make the code harder to understand. But yeah, because Odin doesn't really have meta programming, but we're gonna do, when we need some meta programming, we're just gonna generate code which is easy, which you can look at before you compile even, and you see, oh, what does it do, which is one part of what we're doing here. I mean, this is something I did before the vacation, this API stuff here. So I just added a custom attribute, I parsed the file before compilation, and output an extra file with the API inside. Anyways, so do you have this this is just my little test plugin here. I showed that one because the way you fetch it is you just say get API. I don't know why this one is called. You can just do like this instead. Yeah, and then it says wow here. The API decorator is something you can write your own. You can make your own. What's it called? Attributes. I mean, you can just write banana if you want. Yeah, you can add custom. You can iterate them. So I'll show you what I do. Compile. No, build plugins. Here's my build plugins. This is a program. So let me show you my build script first. My build script goes into the plugins folder, runs the file inside, which is this file, which is a separate program. And it. So this is just a program. So this is a program that generates code and also compiles some the DLLs. So down here it compiles the DLLs, which is this stuff here. But that's not that important. It just goes through. It just compiles all the directors. So if you look in here, we have renderer and the thing, which is this is my test plugin and this is a real plugin. And it just goes, this conflicted crap here is my, I need to change. I have some cloud service that does backups, and it gets confused when files get replaced too quickly. Screw that. So this program here goes into these directories and compiles the contents as a DLL. That's not the important part here. What we're talking about is that we go over also the API file inside. So inside these there is an it goes over all the file. It goes over the whole package. I mean, and it looks it uses in core you have the Odin parser, so it parses the file. Hello, Cache Hit and Igor. So it goes through that and parses the file. So it will go through all this code and find the things that have these custom attributes. When you use custom attributes, you have to tell it, like by default it warns for custom attributes. You just tell it when I compile the DLL that these are the custom attributes that exist. Otherwise it will be a compile error, at least with the vetting turned on, I think. So you can see here how it goes over the declarations in all the files in the plugin, in the sort of package that, for example, in render d4d12, it goes through all the files in here and then finds all the attributes. If it's API, then it says add to API, and then I go over it and check if it is a procedure. Then I just take the signature and then I put it into a list, and then I output some Odin code, which is this API, which is this file. This is the API file, which is the only file that the final game engine will see for that plugin. Right. Yeah. So that's what that does. Now, what I was saying here about I've also added a bit of I did this yesterday. I added some kind of hot reload-ish thing. So we have. Whoa. Okay. It didn't like me. I apparently don't support resizing properly. Yeah, something is broken. You see, it says Wawa here. We can go to main and go to up. Wait, where is the update loop here? Refresh all plugins. What is it called? My test API .high. So that will run this procedure here, right? And see, it now is constantly printing this Wawa. Okay, I can remove this stuff, and then if we go to the folder here, this will now I will run this build plugins again. Odin run dot, and then it says just what I removed one of the prints. Okay, it's the Sublime text console is killing my Sublime. Good program. It died because of, I think. Yeah. Okay, let's bring back all that then. So it says Wawa here, and I can say hello question mark, and I go here and I recompile, and then it should start saying hello instead here. See, it says there it says hello. It's just printing two things, but never mind that. The important part here is that it hot reloaded this plugin. Spewing consoles, yeah. I'm not supposed to spew in this console here, but I was just doing it because I don't have any good way to do a visual thing within the window instead. In any case, that stuff works. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there. Anyways, so what we're gonna do today is gonna do something funny, and I wasn't inspired by the Jai meta programming, but one thing I miss in Odin one thing that becomes a problem with this kind of setup. So you shouldn't use many small packages in Odin usually. But when you're doing a plugin based thing, you will have slightly more packages, and you will be forced to have some kind of base package with your base types in, such as this vector type, or maybe something more complicated, whatever it may be. However, this prefixing here, like so this thing now will be directly inspired by Jai. So I'm just gonna silence my phone. I can dump, everything from base into the global namespace, even though, Odin has sort of its own built-in types and built-in procedures, and those are okay to dump into the global namespace because they're sort of blessed. You can write at any point in Odin, you can write append, but that's just a procedure that's built in. It doesn't come from any package. That one is allowed to be in the blessed global namespace for some reason, but you're not allowed to do it yourself, which is sort of, I get that to the most part, but when you're making your own architecture where you want a specific subset of procedures and stuff to be in the global namespace, then you can't do that. You're forced to either choose a short name for this, like that, not like that, but either you're forced to choose a short prefix alias like that. We could do like that, or you write the whole thing or something, but you can't just write like this without having to go through it and alias all of the types. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make a little meta program that opens my base file and aliases all the types, because I already make this file. I already output a file anyways with some stuff in it. I already have this API, not that file, but this is the file that the user of the plugin uses. But then there's a file that's generated and compiled into the plugin, which looks slightly different. The API loader thingy. It also contains the API, but it also contains this procedure, which is the procedure that is run by the main program in order to fill out the API, because it needs to fill it out with the actual procedures that are inside this package. Inside this package there is a create swap chain procedure. It's here, so it fills the API out. So this one is marked like this, which means that it will be in the API, and then it will also be filled out in here, right? Maybe later I'll add some rename functionality here, so you can name this Gaga in the API, but you can name this, so you could do like this. You can rename it, but that's a later problem. So we have that. So I was thinking, in this file that I generate anyways, I can also just do this. I can make it generate this, because I can just loop over all the stuff. Do you follow the C struct style of coding in Odin? Opaque pointer pattern handle struct based programming. Yeah, well, struct based programming is always, because there's no methods, so you can make an interface or API like this, but yeah, in this case I follow some kind of opaque pointer thingy, because I want the API to not include lots of other packages, because that will create circular imports in after a while and it will just be a mess. So to have also it makes the API, it makes that clean sort of boundary. So that's why I also have this handle map here, which might move down into base eventually, but currently it's up here. So it's it's opaque. But yeah, but like I say, the Odin's package system has this limitation of you cannot dump things into the global namespace. You know, for those of people who watched my Jai stream the other day, you can choose if you want an alias or dump into global namespace, which that's not, because you know some people are afraid of, you know, in Python, I don't remember the exact Python syntax, but in Python you can write like from blah 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 import star, and it just dumps it into the global namespace, and people are afraid of that because they see people like some chemistry major writing their thesis, and it's just a total mess because everything is just dumped into the global namespace. But since these programming languages are a bit more for advanced usage, maybe slightly more experienced programmers, I think that what Jai does there with being able to dump in the global namespace, I think for some corner cases, you shouldn't always do it, but for some corner cases it's a good thing. And I would like to have it when I make a heavily plugin based program. But I also like Odin. Like I did try Jai a bit, but I think Odin is a more mature and more polished programming language. That's Odin is complete feature-wise. The language is probably not gonna change much at all. The standard library or core library, not the standard library, but the core library might change a bit. Like they're gonna replace the OS library in the core library. But the language hasn't actually, it hasn't changed. The first code I wrote in Odin was maybe 3 years ago. This spring I compiled it again. I changed 2 lines. So that's how much it changed over a few years. But there might be a big breaking change soon when the OS2 package. So currently there's an OS package and there's an OS2 package in the core. At some point, OS2 will just replace OS and it will break. But many people only use a few procedures from the OS package, so it's probably not going to be a big deal for most people. But that's one of the biggest breaking changes that are going to happen in Odin. But it's not a big deal really. Anyways, so we're gonna generate some code here. So what I was thinking was that we try to. Let's try doing it in our, well, let's try, I was thinking, we have this, I have some different mad ideas here. Either we just take the base library and just try to dump it into the global namespace, but I was thinking like, maybe we can do like, we're gonna call it splat or something. What's a good name here? So imagine you take everything in here and it's all aliased out. This is done automatically for you, all of it. Splat, it's a global import. Yeah, is that even, is global like reserved keyword? I don't know. No, it's okay. Maybe splat is better because it splats it into there. But splat is also a bit like, Odin syntax looks similar to Jai. Yes, both are heavily inspired by Pascal. So that's where it comes from. I think maybe Odin was slightly inspired because Jai sort of also grabbed that, and then Odin came around a bit after Jai. But in the end, both come from Pascal. This red line here is just because I haven't told my LSP that these are custom attributes. Never mind that. Okay, so let's go down to build plugins. So we've added our global attribute. Have you ever had to use the synchan package? Not really. So that's compiled. So that's interesting. I'm gonna close. There's a door that's banging a bit because of the wind. I haven't used the sync-chan package. I haven't done much multi-threaded programming in Odin. In Cat and Onion, there's one thread except the main thread, which is for playing music to make sure it updates nicely. Right. Get comfortable here. Wait. Here we go. If you can write import dot package, I don't think you can write that. What do you mean? That you could write like this? No. I'm not changing the compiler here. I'm just gonna generate code. In Go. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I didn't read that properly. Go is such a short name that sometimes. 25th says, I wonder how Odin approved that hashing as external tool to preprocess generate expanded Odin code. Is that what you're doing or something else? Yeah, I'm running a program that generates Odin code. The API is generated. So by the way, I have one more thing here. In main.odin, I load the direct 3D 12. I create API instance, and I say RD3D API, which is this API here. And that thing just it gets the API and also creates the state that API needs, which sort of makes it in sort of a COM style API. So then on this API instance that I get, which has the state and the API both have using on it, then I can use the little arrow. So I can say, this is just me. This is something I'm trying out, abusing Odin a bit. I can say R3D API create shader, and I don't pass in the RD3D state here, this thing, because I use the little arrow, so that is passed in automatically because it sits on itself. The state lives on the thing itself, because this thing has a state object in all of them, which sort of makes it a bit COM style. But in the case of a renderer, maybe it's fine. We'll see how much I use this. If you just use the API type directly, then you would be interfacing directly with this and have to pass the state at every point. But if you always have a state that you pass with, then maybe you can make some kind of COM style thingy. UI Wizard says, I'm still confused what _ : package name does. What you're talking about is this. The only thing that does is if you have this is for making sure that this never, like when you compile with warnings on, with vetting on, then you might get a warning that says that FMT is unused. So if you in this file remove all usages of FMT and have that vetting on, then it would say it's unused. But maybe you don't want to remove it because you're going to use it 5 minutes later. So then this just makes it used. It's just an explicit say to say, hi, I'm using this, and this underscore means nothing. So it says that nothing is alias to FMT. It's just a way to make sure that it is say that I promise I am using this. I don't want you to warn me about this thing. That's the only reason you would do that. Yeah, it's a black hole, exactly. Sometimes it's also good because sometimes you need to do it because you might have a conditional. Maybe you have a when Odin OS equals blah blah blah, and then you use fmt dot blah 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 in here, and that's the only place you use fmt. So when this is not true, then this would generate an error, and when it is, so then you would also need that kind of thing to make sure that all your different variations of compile options work. Anyways, that's aside. So back to, let's try to get going with this stupid madness. This is just an experiment. This is almost recreational Odin stupidity coding or something. We'll see how it. I have this new mic setup. I'm trying to adjust it a bit. Maybe there we go. I don't know. It's a bit tricky with this boom arms and microphones and, you know, everything like that. Maybe I should be like Eskil Stenberg, and have the little reporter microphone. Go out into the field. So now we can go into build. Since we have that custom attribute on this, we can go into build here, and we can say, here I loop over all the declarations in all the files of my plugin. So I open I parse a package from a path, and this will be the whole folder, the whole render D3D folder will parse, and it will go through it, and then it will look at all the files and all the declarations in all the files. Yeah, I'm using the core Odin package here, core Odin parser and ast. So then we can say case I watched a bit of the Eskil's new video until there was something that no, I think it was when he talked about being able to use 2 mice, and it was future proof. I'm like, well, now you're adapting to hardware that doesn't exist. So then I stopped watching, but I'll continue watching at some point. I just got slightly, it just felt a bit like, I don't know, it felt a bit weird. But you can do that kind of layering in, I mean, you can do it in Odin or C, it doesn't matter. So this is here we go through value declarations is most things, like this is a value declaration. That's why I go through those here and check for this API opaque, but we can check for the attributes on the import declarations. This is all a bit, doing this kind of stuff is a bit chatty because you're going through the AST, the AST of the what's it called? What, I always forget what AST actually stands for. Syntax tree. Oh yeah, abstract syntax. I was like, it's like API. Some people are like application programming interface, and then people are different. Anyways, it Astrid Lindgren. That's the sort of knockoff, the knockoff author Astrid Lindgren. So it goes through that stuff, right? And then we can go through all the attributes, but it's a bit chatty, all this, because it has sort of built a syntax tree of the whole file, right? So with that in mind, let's see here. So I'm just copying things from down here. So we're going through. If we hit the import declaration, which is this, then we go through all the attributes, which are these things. So we're doing that here. And then we need to field value. Okay, so the reason there are two different versions here is just that sometimes you have something like that, and then it's a field value because you have a name and a value, or if it's like that, it's just treated as identity, and then it's just a name. We can just, for now, or we can do both, actually. We can copy that, and we say field derived indent. Is that, do you really need to do all that? Maybe you do. Let's skip the value for now. We just have the name, so it either just gets the name or it fetches the name from the name identity of the field value, which is when it's two of these. The foreman, is that a reference to like a rally from there was a Swedish radio show where they made a fake video. They were pretending there was a fake video game based on an Astrid Lindgren book where there was some bazooka involved. Yep. Oh yeah, I recognize it. So we have name there. We can try printing that. Let's see what happens. It's complaining about A in attribute. What did I do? Oh, okay. Yeah, of course, each attribute may have several elements because you can do like this. This is why I say that it's a bit chatty to do this. Yeah, exactly, Tom. I think that's the one I'm referring to. It's very silly. So each one. So this is why it all gets a bit chatty in the when you're doing these things, because there are many possibilities from from the AST point of view. So let's see here. Now it says global here, which is good because it found on an import statement. This guy is found an attribute with, and it's printed a name, and it says global. Okay, good. Lee says DX12 loved by few, hated by many. Yeah, it's easier to me than Vulkan, and more native to Windows. So I don't really need it. I just thought it was interesting to, because I was thinking maybe I want some of those low-level control for doing some funny stuff in shaders. Such, I'm not sure if I need all of it, but I was thinking with like one draw call UIs and stuff, you might want lots of. I think it might work in D3D12, 11 as well. But then I was also thinking of doing maybe a lot of bindless things, and then you might need that. I'm not sure. I'm not rendering expert. I just thought that maybe it's good. But it is slightly more setup. But I don't think it's that bad. I think when I tried Vulkan, it felt much worse. Just because here at least I understood the concepts. In Vulkan, I was like, I'm not sure why I'm doing this, but you seem to need to do this. Like managing your descriptors and stuff. It's just slightly more straightforward in DX12 that I can wrap my head around it. If name equals global, then we can just say import global. false. Yeah, if you can use STL3 GPU instead of so-called GFX. But yeah, as like you say, I don't think it supports web yet, but it's a similar. It's a similar experience. Yes, it's a bit easier to get a triangle on. I have a triangle D3D12 that I made at some point a few years ago. I'll find it for you. D3D12 triangle. I mean, it's in Odin, but me and Jakub made this. I made the initial one, and then he improved upon it a bit. Wait, yeah, and this one uses STL2 to open the window, but you can open it using also in this project, which I use in this project. I don't use STL. I just open using WinAPI the window because, well. So we got now we found the global thingy there. Like that. And then now we might get to the funny stuff. If import global fmt.println blah, blah, blah. What's it called? Like D, maybe that's the import declaration. Let's see here what we got. Can I stop this thing? What's it called? This one needs to stop printing now because I'm tired of it. Let's just, it can, maybe I'll keep that code in there for testing things, but there we go, that's a bit quieter. Okay, so this one says that it's a statement, which is, I need to go one level deeper. So this is the D here is the declaration, which is just the statement. We want the DD here, which is the derived thing on it, which is an import declaration. It says that this is almost unreadable, but I learned to read this. It says that it comes from the file render D3D12. And let's see if we can file. So the full paths it imports is this, right? We'll see if we're going to be able to even resolve that to an actual package or not. I'm not sure. Because I don't know if you can you even parse a package that is, yeah, I think this one needs, I don't think you can input one of these sort of import paths. I think you need to import an absolute path. So that might be a problem. So what we'll do here, we'll see if we can even solve this nicely. Where is the, let's see here, the import declaration? It has full path. Okay, dd.full path. Yeah, so that's your whole path. That's all you get, I think, because it's not expanding it for you, because that's not what the point of the thing here is. I wonder if there is anything inside the Odin parser that can do that, but I have my doubts that it's possible. The AST is not gonna do it. Parser, that's what where I was looking. Parse package from, because this one just seems to, I looked at this code, right, and it just file path absolute, and then it reads entire file. I don't think that's gonna work. Might have to fake this for now just to get somewhere here. I can probably feed all the collections. So we have one collection, that's this one with my own, and then we have the core. We can probably feed something in there that does that. The question also is of course, do I even need the attribute? Did I actually just want to splat all this automatically without the attribute? But yeah, let's just fake this for now, so we get somewhere. I will return to fixing this later. Like that. Says true, good. And then we can, that package is in, this is the part I'm faking now, getting from this to this. We'll look at that later. So I had a package path, and then we can do the similar thing as up here. Parse package from path. It might not be the best place to do it in here. Maybe we should add to a list instead, packages to splat out. It's weird because I say global, but I like using the word splat. But just call it splat. Splat. It's a splat import. I like the word splat. So we make a list here. Splat packages is a dynamic list of strings. Splat. Well, yeah, I think the person is asking for a something like Raylib, but not built on OpenGL. Sokal is much more low level. It doesn't have like, you can't just like draw a thing here, draw a rectangle here. You need to, do all those things yourself. So it is significantly more work to get up and running with Sokal, I would say. So I understand that it's not. So just do that. I think this is the correct. I'm just gonna double check that. Yes. So we splat that one, and that we will loop over those later down here somewhere. Let's for starters put it into the API loader, which is this one. LO here is the API loader. This file here is written by that. So let's just do this for SP in splat packages. So we're done here. Now we just need to loop over those guys. So this is very far from reasonable thing. Well, some people might say that it's an unreasonable thing to do in Odin. But I'm gonna try it anyways, because it's a funny thing, using a quite new programming language, because people are like, oh, this is the best way to use it. Probably people were probably like that, you know, with C and C++ early on. But these days people use it in a million different ways. Well, languages like Odin doesn't really have that yet, but I think it's just because it's more opinionated at the start how to use it, because there's a small user group. It's just good to try doing weird stuff that language allows when you run into roadblocks. In this case, I'm making my own little architecture with plugins, so I can have my little own pre-compilation process on top of that, which I don't love because your code, like, you must run a pre-compilation step. You can of course check that code into source control so that the code is valid when someone clones it out of Git or something. But if you don't put it in, then you need to run the compilation at least once for the code to be valid. Otherwise, maybe your LSP will complain or something. All annoying, but you know. So we have that. Now we're just gonna do something. I'm gonna open this one. Build plugins. I'm gonna open that one twice, because I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna do like this, maybe. I'm just stealing some code here. Well, I can do like this. If not package, okay, continue. So a little bit less nesting. Does this return an packet? Okay. Right. We don't need all this stuff. I just wanted to get to the value declaration stuff. Wait, this is missing a curly brace 2. Partial switch, blah, 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 case. Right? And if we print this, it will print like a lot of stuff now. Yeah, I think. Let's see what it does. Well, it didn't do anything because it didn't work. See if I appended it properly. Splat packages, where is it? Okay, it's empty. Is that because I still check for global, or is it? Yeah, it is. Because I changed stuff. Okay, maybe now there is something in that one. Still empty. Splat. The way I spell sometimes. There we go. Now something happened. So here you see that it has opened the base package, and it contains lots of interesting things. It contains lots of value declarations. A value declaration. Let's look at that guy. There you go. Value declaration has a bunch of names. That's all we're interested in. Okay, I'm just gonna make this work in the basic sense. It's still a bit jerry-rigged or whatever you want to call it, because I didn't get the proper path and I don't have the proper name to use for the import yet. But maybe I can get... No, let's not do that now. Let's let's focus on this. So we have the value declaration here for n in dd.names, I think. Names are n, I mean. Alright, then you need to fetch the name. What's a name? Name is an expression. Okay. Yes, I see all this a bit chatty because it's a whole abstract syntax tree. Expression base. What is the... Wait. End of derived. What's that? Ah, it's all in. Okay. So to take n dot derived and we check if it is indent. No, as dot indent. I think it needs to be a little pointer here. Not in ident. If ident okay, so it was an identifier, which it most certainly will be. Then we do that, and the identifiers I think have just the name. So then we can say ident.name, and there you go. You have rect, mat, vect3, vect2, color, plugin, blah 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 blah, like all that. These are all the things that are in this package. There's not a lot yet. Right, we can remove that one. So we just get the, where's the other print coming from? Oh, so maybe it's just this. Oh, accidentally reloaded the chat. So there you have your identifiers, and now all you need to do is do something like this: pfln lo v we say base. This is the part I don't have yet. I need to get this name here. We're gonna fake that for now and say ident.name, ident.name, and now we suddenly have all this. And that's sort of it for what it should do. You can question if it should just do types, not procedure names. I haven't really fixed the procedure names in here to be nice right now, but that's okay. The reason it complains is just that, okay, API storage is not a compile time known concept. Okay, that one. Like Cache it wonder what object-oriented programming is. OOP. That's a good question because everyone has different definitions of it. But it is usually when you try to model things as objects. In the old times, people always had examples of like, oh, a cow is an animal, a Volvo is a car, and they try to do something like that. But I think these days people is more about, it's not about modeling after the real world, but it's more about when you use things like inheritance and yeah, some people say like, oh, we have methods on objects that you can run little functions that are attached directly to objects, that you have inheritance, that you have maybe you try to have encapsulation where you hide things behind private. It's just this, people don't really, no one agrees on what it is, and lots of people say it's bad. So it's always like, what is that? I don't think methods is that bad. I don't think interfaces or private things is that bad. What I think is bad is inheritance, specifically when you have a list of things in an array that use inheritance, because you often end up having to dynamically allocate each item because they are of different size, so they can't be packed nicely in an array. So you end up having to allocates them separately, and that will trash your cache friendly. That will trash your cache because you can't loop over it nicely. Yeah, and Muratori, like Smilek says, made an explanation of what OOP is about, but nobody agrees what it is about. So even Casey often has these kind of a bit hyperbole explanations of it, where it goes. He still sometimes talks about this modeling after the real world, which no people who really try to people who are pro OOP, they don't talk about that. They're like, oh, that's why you're talking about that. That's like 90s school example. So it's all a bit all over the place. I think I made a blog post about why they say there are 4 pillars of OOP, but it's I made this blog post at some point. It's not my favorite blog post though ever, but I do talk about this thing, why having separate allocations, like an array of entity pointers where there are different sizes and they're all separately allocated. I talk a bit why this is bad and what you can do instead. So you can read that if you want. I'll link it there. Yeah, you can make similar things with. It's not that the language is OOP. You can do OOP in, like, there's some languages that have extra support for it, like, we have C++ and C# and whatever, that extra support for it. But you can do almost the same thing in C and Odin. Just that it's gonna be annoying to do because maybe you can't attach methods to things directly. You can kind of have inheritance, but it's a bit, you can kind of do it. But that's the thing, right? You probably don't want to, but yeah. Anyways, we have this. I need to focus on this now. We have this vec3 here, and this API storage. This one we need to remove. It's not really a feature of the language. No, some languages have extra support for it, but it's it's more of a way to program. But it's if some languages make it annoying enough to do OOP that people avoid doing it in them. Or like they don't have the support, extra stuff for it. Can I somehow know if this is a constant? I need to get rid of this one because it's not a constant. I used maybe this will be maybe there's a little roadblock here. Error base.api is not a compile time known constant. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. So anything that's like a global variable within the thing won't work really. That's not a big deal. It doesn't happen that often, but yeah. Let's see here. It's a field value. Okay, if we go, no, not a field value, on the import declaration. No, not on that one. I think it's down here. We need to change something. We have a value declaration. If we print that one. I'll try to load all plugin. Which one is it? This one is it? I'm just trying to get some diagnostics on this one. Derive, this like that, derive statement. I don't think there's a third party package manager. I mean, what am I doing? There's not an official one definitely, but I think there's a there's this thing, right, that was just redesigned recently. That's not completely ready yet, but it's sort of like a package registry, but it doesn't contain much yet because it's still a work in progress. But it's gonna be more of a searchable thing for libraries and projects and stuff. It might be good to keep an eye on because it was just redone this weekend by the main developer. I think it's Mjolnir makes it, but I think this seems promising, and it's actually linked up to the showcase channel on the Odin Discord. Projects have been added to this database, but it hasn't been displayed yet, I think. Anyways, I think that might be better. You know, there is this like awesome Odin list on GitHub, but that one is a bit. Yeah, package manager. I think package search thingy is good. Package manager built straight into the language might, like, it's good to be. Its discoverability is good. Then people can, you know, argue if a package manager where you can just pull things in and just go crazy and don't really know what you're importing. If that stuff is good, that's a separate thing. But I think Odin's package system is simple enough that you can just download a zip with a package and extract it into your folder, look through it, see what is it I really have here, because that's what you should do. You should make sure that you understand what the package is, not just use it without understanding what you downloaded, and then you can use it. Let's try to figure out this thing here. It's a value declaration. So I'm trying to get rid of this one. I'm trying to find a way. Is mutable. Is that it? That it's mutable. Because if we look at the other ones, it will be false. Let's skip that for now if it's mutable. Yeah, I wouldn't even clone a submodule. I would just download a zip or something. Like submodules, well, maybe in the early parts of making a program, but as you're getting, you know, somewhere with your program, you probably don't want a submodule either, because you don't want to change the version, because your program is dependent on that specific version. Just have it in a folder inside your thing. It's fine. If let's skip if it's mutable. And now we can remove this because that was a conflict there, and this is gonna work now. So now I no longer need the base dot blah blah blah. So I can remove that, and I can go up here and do that. This won't work now because annoying. Because this now just steals the signature from there, but it needs to go into there. because there's two of these API, right? One is inside the ready plugin, and one is compiled. This file is compiled into the plugin. This one has all these things. It would be a bit ugly to have that. I was thinking I would get away with that, but I realize I can't. So I need to have this list of crap. This stuff needs to be somewhere here too. Which sucks a bit. Wah, wah. I forgot about that. Oh well. Let's for now add them to the file, to the API file. So yeah, the API loader file and the API file. Let's make a builder and just strings.write string. We write into the splat builder ident.name, and then we write string splat builder. I'm just lazy of doing a temp string in between here. Like that, and then we say PFL. That this is just a alias of print to file out to the output handle. Strings to toString splat builder hello. Oi, it's good to write a new line also. Okay, that seems to work. What's this? Something failed compiling. No? Okay. So now this one looks like this. However, the API also has that crap in it, which I don't love. Yeah, I'm making a program that outputs some Odin code so that it can be compiled as part of the, which is, meta programming is in general quite often it's that when you have a compiler supports meta programming, it just like before it compiles the code, it generates some new code that is also fed into the compiler, but that code you never see. It's it's you can think of it as a just a string with some code in it that is also fed into the compiler next to your source file. That's what metaprogramming, you can think of metaprogramming as doing. Here what we're doing is we're generating a file that is on the disk that you can look at that is compiled with it. So it's just that we're bouncing, it's sort of the same thing, but we're bouncing via the hard drive into a file, and we are also writing the program that generates it, because there is no metaprogramming. There is no metaprogramming system in the language, but if the language is Odin has simple enough syntax that, I mean, generating this file is not hard. It's just like I just print out some stuff. But yeah, there are some slightly annoying things here. API render. Why is there so many spaces? Why is there so many new lines at the end? Huh? Oh. There we go. Right. This I'm okay with. This file is sort of like it is. I don't love that it is in the API file, because this file is supposed to be like we could generate a second file next to it. That's like the API support file. But it's, you know, it's all getting a bit like much, like extra weird files because of me wanting to alias some things. Which is, you know, like I said, this is sort of what metaprogramming in your programming language that has metaprogramming does. It is when it bounces out to disk and it becomes an extra file, you look at it and you go like, oh, what's this stuff? But on the other hand, then it's obvious what it's doing, and it's code you can look at. So it's a bit, you know, maybe it's good. Like when you sort of, the price you pay for metaprogramming is that you have to look at the code. There's code, there's extra files there or whatever, extra code to look at. But that's fine, because that code is actually there. It's just that it's not hidden now. So it's a bit, yeah. This stream is about me using the Odin parser and abstract syntax tree stuff to generate more Odin code. Yeah, that's sort of what it's about. So let's see here. Maybe we make a new file. Explicitness, no, it's not always good. Then because you have languages like Zig where it's explicit because it can, not because like it just has extra explicitness always, because like it's good when it is enlightening. But when it's just extra noise without being enlightening, then it's just like you have to, there's a balance, right, to everything. In this case, I'm not sure, but maybe. API is, export is an official one. Export makes it so that it's visible, it's exported so that when you load the DLL, you can find this thing and load it. It's an exported symbol for the library. The API I've added, you can write your own like attributes like this. They're not used for anything unless you parse the file using the language parser and go in there and look for them and do something extra. And you also have to build plugins. You also have to say that you're using these. So you see custom attributes here. I say API opaque, API and splat. These are the 3 custom attributes I have. You have to add them here just so that the compiler doesn't complain about unknown attributes. But that's fine. So then this program will search for them and find splat, API and API opaque, and it will look for those and do things with those things that are decorated with them. Yeah, SIG, like you say, SIG feels 90% awesome, but the math and casting is unnecessarily verbose and noisy. Yeah, and that's why SIG, for some reason, they love explicitness for the sake of being explicit, rather. No, there is, you can be explicit. I think Ginger Bill usually says that Odin tries to minimize implicitness, but it doesn't try to maximize explicitness, which might sound like the same thing, but if you remove something implicit, doesn't, like, there are things that can be done without being super implicit. It's a bit weird, but I think there is something to that. But anyways, it's, to me, I think instead of saying that kind of thing, I just say that there is a reasonable level of explicitness, you know, and you have to sort of have a good feeling for what that is. Like, when does the explicitness help you in understanding the code, and when does it create noise? Yeah, but I would say that it's hellbent on being 100% explicit, but I wouldn't say that it makes it. Maybe some people think it makes it clear, but it makes it less clear, maybe, because it's too much noise. So it's just 100% explicit no matter what, or something. Anyways, we are Did you give up on Jai? No, I just tried it for 4 hours. It's not. This is a project I had from before summer. I'm just, you know, it's a bit funny being someone who streams, because the moment you try something, people are like, "Wow, you're giving up on this thing and that thing." I'm like, no, I'm just, you know, just like you, everyone else sometimes tries something new. I do that too. It's not, there's no there's nothing big going on, you know. It's like trying a new kind of cheese. I might still buy the old kind of cheese sometimes. But yeah, Jai would maybe be good for this kind of meta programming, but I wouldn't even have this problem in Jai, because what I was trying to do was create this global import thingy, which Jai already supports, so I wouldn't have this problem. What I was doing was trying to splat out an import so that all the symbols in it is put into the global namespace. Odin doesn't really have almost any meta programming. Odin has you can generate code using parametric polymorphism, so you can say that this procedure can take something of any type and generates the variations for you. And you can use when to do compile time checks on constants. That's it. But that makes it, what that does is that the, you know, when you look at someone else's Odin code base, it's very, people don't make their own little programming language using meta programming, kind of. And even when you do meta programming like I do here, then you still need to generate the code, and it's code you can look at. So even when I do this, it will still generate code that is compiled, so it's still something that you can see. Right. Yeah, splat is like if using was allowed for imports. Yes, it used to be in the language. This used to be possible, or this used to be possible. It was removed because it was seen as think it was seen as inviting people to create the messes. It was inviting people to do, you know, the crazy stuff from Python, which is like from base import star or something like that people do in Python. But I think it's a feature that it assumes that you structure your way in a certain way using packages that you might not. Odin doesn't have macros, but you can do when blocks to replace code. And you can use config, so you can make like a constant is a config, and then you can configure that from outside. Like this could be like a, I don't remember how you write it, but so you can have a compile time config, or you can have a when block, which is like a, yeah. No, I haven't used Zig really. I just have looked at it a bit. So I don't miss anything from it because I haven't programmed Zig. I just talked to people who use it and looked at it a bit. So I shouldn't take my opinion on it too much, but it's, you know. What are we doing? Oh yeah, we had this problem. Wait, why is this back? Did I remove something? I was talking so much that I... Or maybe I changed the splat. Oh yeah, I removed this, that's why. Yeah, my opinion on Odin. I guess I know a lot about Odin. I sometimes say that I love almost everything about Odin, and I think the package system is correctly made. It's just, well, it's more correct for most kinds of architectures, but sometimes it's a bit too. It assumes a bit too much about what it is how it is you want to structure your program, to the point of it being a source of frustration. That's my main critique of the language. Other than that, it's all fine. For most if you just want to make a game in Odin, you just want a single monolithic game, then just probably make most of it as one package. That's the way to go. It's sort of like programming in C, with you can prefix your procedure names and stuff. But yeah. Yeah, so, but like David's canal, if you say that most of your comp time is just parapoly stuff, most of your comp time is just parapoly and comp time if statements, then Odin does everything you need, because it can generate polymorphic procedures for you, and it can make if statements, compile time if statement, which is called when. So, yeah. Anyways, let's put that stuff into a separate file. Oh, this is drink more tea. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. So let's see here. LO, these names. A is the API file, and I'm kind of outputting into both at the same time. This is a big mess. Sorry about that. Loader file name is not the one. Let's see here. We open the API here. Yeah, that's what it does. It just aliases out stuff because I wanted like using on a package in a specific case. So I'm just experimenting with it a bit. What is this? This is the API support. API. Maybe we can just call this support.odin, and we say we just put that in the just put that like that. AS error, blah blah blah. We check that name, and then we print package. That's correct. And then we import base, and this thing is probably gonna move into. This doesn't even need that thing. And then we do like this. We print into that one that stuff. We can remove it from there, and then we do right. Files cannot start with underscore. Oh. Okay. I thought they could. I didn't know that. Oh, now the file is there. Delete it. Delete it. La la la. Okay. This one we also need to remove. There we go. Now it worked. So now let's close this and close that. Where's the API? Here. So now the API looks like this, and there's a little extra file here, which is this stuff, which is just the splat file. Let's just call it splat. David asks if the Odin map is unordered. Yes, it's unordered. It's because it hashes stuff, so they're not put in. It's unordered both. It's unordered in two ways. It's unordered. Things won't be in the way you put them in, because it hashes them based on a key, so they will end up in different order because it needs to sort it. And then it also actually on purpose moves them, like it on purpose will use some extra piece of it. I don't exactly remember what it uses, but it makes sure that between different runs of the program they are unordered in different ways, just so that you don't start, so you notice that, so you don't start relying on them being ordered and then add something and suddenly your order is messed up. So they're always, you can't ever depend on the order of them. If you want them ordered, if you want something ordered from a map, then you put it into a map, and then at the end you make an array of, like, you move it into an array and sort the array, or some kind of, then you can move it into make an array or a slice and put it into there and sort it based on some key, whatever that may be. So let's see here. Let's see. What do we have? I'm gotta be tired here. Splat. And then we yeah. Just adding a new line. And that one doesn't have anything in it. And that one has all this. Anyways, that's our little splat file. I guess it works. You could also stop having this one. You no longer need, I think. Yeah. This one I still need, but I was thinking of moving the handle map into just base and renaming things a bit. So the base is just one package, so there's not sub packages like that. Then, so that in the end, this will just look maybe it would look like this in the end or something. That's your little API. Interesting. This is not really the API loader, it's more of just a generated file. Right. Whatever, it can be called API loader for now. Oh. Well, let's commit that for now. See what we did. Many funny things. if you want to take a look at what I did, I'm not saying that this is something you should do, but if you want to do something similar, you can look at the repository, which I'm trying to find for you. I know I haven't fixed everything yet. I still need to get the actual import path. I have this repository here, right? You can go there if you want to have a look. Oh, nice. Now I added splat. Because you so stupid. You just write a message like this and commit, and then your commit has pinged someone. Very silly. This my build failed. Why? Undeclared name. Maybe I broke the something. No? I should output it. Why did a CI break? Declared name vic2i. Might be that I have not outputted these with the correct 644, because this is a Windows machine and those are that I will look at later. It's not very interesting. Yeah, I think I need to pop away and make some coffee or something. So I think I'll end the stream here. But I think I can figure out the stuff to get the actual path. You know, I have this stuff. Well, not that stuff really, but this stuff where did I doing that? Oh yeah, it's up here. You know, this stuff where I fake the path. I think I can figure that out somehow. I just need, that I would need to do. But maybe I would remove the whole. Maybe I would just remove the whole attribute splat and just make it an intrinsic thing of this project that it splats this package. So it does. This doesn't exist. Like, you never have to write this at all. It's just there. It's just like a built-in into the language. This is a built-in into this project. So you can't do it with anything else, because I don't really want you to do it with anything else. I just wanted it to work for that thing. Anyways, we'll see about that. But now I must go make coffee or something and have a break from this. But thanks for watching this little meta programming generation thingy. Have a nice day. Bye bye.